So a couple examples from 6.5. This first one, you're given the markings on the shape to show that it's a kite. And so the key thing to remember, and the way that you can remember this is by drawing in a diagonal, right? When we draw that diagonal in, we can see that those two triangles are congruent. And that tells us that what we call the base angles are also congruent. So that means angle 1 and angle 2 are going to be the same measure. Well, the quadrilateral, all the angles add up to 360 degrees. We've got a 101 degree and a 48 degree. So if we subtract those away, we end up with 211. And so angle 1 and angle 2 have to add up to 211 degrees. So when we divide that by 2, both of those are going to measure 105.5 degrees. For number 2, we've got both diagonals drawn in this time. And we remember that the vertex diagonal, this one right here, it does two things. Number 1, it is perpendicular to the other diagonal, which means we've got some hidden angles here that are 90. As well, it bisects the angles. And so that means that angle also has to be 27. Well, 2 and 3 just complete out those right angles, or right triangles, and so both of these must be 63 degrees, because 63 plus 27 is 90, 90 plus 90 is 180 degrees. And then angle 1 is just going to be 90 degrees, because you have, we know that the diagonals of a kite are perpendicular. Okay, for example 3, we're going to do something similar, except for this time we're going to have some algebra involved. Well, first off, we note that these two are the angles in the right triangle, because the diagonals are perpendicular. So we can just say 2x plus 10x minus 6 is going to equal 90. So that gives me 12x equals 96 when I solve the equation, or x equals 8. And once I find out that x equals 8, I can actually find out what this angle is too, because it's just going to be 3 times 8, which is 24. And finally, this last one, again, in this kite, we know that the base angles are congruent to each other. And so that means that 4x plus 13 must equal 5x minus 15. So if I subtract 4x and add 15, I get 28 equals x. And so if I get 28 equals x, that means that when I substitute that in, 28 times 4 is 112, plus 13 is 125. So both of those are 125. Well, that means that the other two angles in those triangles have to add up to 55 degrees, because the sum of the angles in a triangle must be 180. And then we also know that the vertex diagonal, the one that connects the vertexes of these two isosceles triangles that make up the kite, bisects the angle. So that means this angle is also y minus 9. So we get y minus 9 plus y plus 125 equals 180. So that gives me 2y plus 116 equals 180. 2y equals 64, or y equals 32. So we get x equals 28 and y equals 32.